Hi everyone and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to learn about a very fundamental and very important concept in the database ecosystem, and that is primary and foreign key. And it is very simple to understand. The first one that we are going to learn is the primary key. Now suppose you are a student, or maybe if you are a student, we all had our roll numbers assigned, right? Or if we are working in a company, we all had our employee ID assigned. Now what are the roles of that employee ID or a roll number? First, it is unique to every student or employee. And second, if I take that roll number or an employee ID, I can get all the details about you. Similarly, in the database ecosystem, we have tables. Tables have rows and columns. So primary key is a column that is used to define every row uniquely. Now, it may be very confusing when you hear the word key, but this is not really a key. It is a column. It is a column that has unique values, okay, and that value exists only for one row. When we go to the PG admin and look at the tables, you'll actually find out that how we actually primary key and foreign key works. So let us actually go ahead and look at some of the features that we have. First, it is unique and non-nullable. It means if you remember, we have been using the film table and it has a film ID. So that film ID for every film is unique. So a primary key is unique. On top of that, it has to be non-nullable, which means if you define a column that this column is going to work as a primary key, that column cannot have null values because it is important, and that primary key column identifies each row uniquely, so it does not make sense to have a value which is null. Second, you can not only use one column as a primary key, but you can use a combination of two or more than two to find unique values. So let us suppose you have a column which has duplicate values. Let's say film ID has been assigned to two columns, to two movies. And then you're like, okay, now how do I figure it out? How do I make a primary key? So what you do is you take a film ID and then you also take the film name. You combine these two tables and eventually it becomes your primary key. So primary key can also be made with the combination of two or more columns. And finally, in most of the database systems, when you define that a column is a primary key, it automatically increments the values and you don't have to add it. Which means that suppose you're creating a student's data and you have been assigned the roll number with 100. So next time when a student's value is added, the database will automatically add the roll number and make it as 101 for the new student. And in most of the cases, you don't even have to add it. You only have to add the student's data and the database will take care of the incrementation of the primary key. So that's how most of the database work. Now, what is a foreign key? A foreign key is a column in a table that establishes a link between a data in two tables. And how does it do it? So what it really does, it connects one table to the other. And the way it does is that it uses the primary key column of one table as a column in its own table. So when we use a primary key column from one table in another table, so in that another table, we call it as a foreign key. Where is that? Because that data belongs to the other table, and that is why we are calling it as a foreign key. Now it also has 2 points to consider. First one is referral integrity. What does this actually means? I will be able to explain to you when I explain the parent-child relationship. So the table that has the primary key, it's called the parent table, and the table that is inheriting that column to its table is called the child table. So in this way, what happens is that you make sure that there are not any duplicate values. The data exists similarly both in parent table and in the child table. So your database and tables and everything in your data is much more organized, and there are less chances of making any mistakes. Now, I know it may be very overwhelming if you're learning all this for the very first time, but when we go to our PG admin and try to create a table, define the columns, and we've also learned what are the different kind of data types, and then we define how to create a foreign key and how to create a primary key, it will be more easy for you to understand. But I'll give you a task that go to your PG admin and run some of the queries like select star from film, select star from payment, and you will be able to figure out which column is primary key. And it will have some PK text written there, which we will see in the next video, but I encourage you to do it on your own, and I'll see you in the next video.